Hey guys, what's up and welcome. I am Matthew Msengati, the script doctor from Balisa Story Academy. In this video, we are going to dive deep into story structure. I am going to show you my own way, how I approach story in such a way that my story is well structured and it's cohesive. So what we are going to do, I am going to dive deep into some sort of a story concept that I have already explored. Now I've already taken it to paper and I'm about to erase it. Obviously this is not the concept that will make it to my some sort of final version of the story, but here I was just laying out some ideas. What I'm hoping to teach you in this video: number one, story before script. Most people, they get into script and they write unrealistic scene. There is no enough conflict, there is no enough story, there is no climax, and there is no pacing, and the story is just random scenes and there is no cohesiveness. So I want to help you to write at least meaningful stories. Okay, my apologies, I wrote this long time ago, I think maybe 2 months or 3 months back. So some of the things here, the names, the character names, and the concept and what I was trying to do, I forgot about them. So I will have to actually read and try to understand what is it that I was trying to do. Without wasting time, let's just jump straight into it. Okay, let's first get into story structure. Something that I think my students are missing. If they are not missing it, they undermine it. It's easy for them to feel like they can tell story however they want. Okay, so let's get into story structure here. So what I usually do, I draw a timeline, okay, depending on the duration of my story. Okay, as you can see, this is minute 0 and this is minute 120. So as you can see, this is 2 hours. Okay, the first 60 minute, which makes an hour, and the second 60 minute, which makes it 2 hours. So this is the timeline. Okay, now let's get into story structure. I hope you are familiar with the 3-act structure. What is 3-act story structure? Just like any other thing, okay, just like a composition, just like an essay, just like any other thing, you always have the beginning, the middle, and an end. As simple as this may sound, please don't be fooled by its simplicity. When it comes to story, it's crucial. I have read scripts, I have read stories that are not structured this way. This is something that you don't have to tamper with, or at least I would like to advise, just follow it, because this is like the life principle. This is how things work. Introduce me to something, let's get into the middle, and let's get into the end. So 3-act structure is just like that. Even in terms of technology principle, there is an input, process, and an output. So 3-act structure is just exactly that. It's the introduction, the beginning, and the end. But here in story, we call it 3-act structure. Why? Maybe it's act. Okay, this is all about action. Okay, you need to, something must happen. Okay, so this 3-act structure, as it is actually action based or action oriented, it forms part of the plot. Okay, what is a plot? This is a plot. It's what happened, not necessarily why and the emotional wound and the emotional trauma. It's exactly what happened. It's some sort of a series of events. Okay, so this is 3-act structure. So we've got Act 1 here. Okay, Act 1 start from minute 0 to 30 minutes. Okay, and we've got Act 2 that start from minute 30 to minute 90. As you can see, Act 2 is twice Act 1, and then we've got Act 3 that start from 90 minutes to 120. So this is 3-act structure. Act 2, it's the longest act in your story. Okay, it's the longest act. Okay, so let me just give you an idea as to why this 3-act structure is structured this way. Okay, why Act 2 is the longest act. Okay, let's say you are writing a story. Whenever you get into your story, something happened before, but it's not worth mentioning, or you are going to go back to it through flashbacks, as if somebody is thinking maybe whatever that happened before, it's important. Okay, but you don't really, in terms of how you want to approach your story, you don't want to start there. Okay, because based on your pacing and structure of your story and the reveals, okay, you will go back to it, you will go back in time. So as you can see, you have to start at minute 0 at a certain scene or a certain place in your story. You will go back maybe at minute 30. Okay, I hope you get that. Whenever you start a story, something happened before. Let's say you want to start a story, want to tell a story about yourself. Okay, you are starting at age 12. You existed at age 9. Okay, you want to start at age 34. You existed at age 20. Okay, so there are some things which are important that you might want to tell. Okay, so when you get into a story, if you have some of those things that you maybe want to go back to, you've got maybe a chance to introduce those things in Act 1. Okay, so Act 1 acts as an introduction to help you set up the story. If there is some sort of a backstory, something that you really need to go back to, you can introduce it here. Okay, so here on Act 1, you tell necessary information for me to get hooked into the main idea, the one that is going to maybe start here on Act 2 going forward. Okay, in case you want to tell me about the backstory of a character, maybe a long time ago, his mother was killed or whatever happened to me, you can do this here. Remember, you can do it anywhere here, but sometimes, or more often than not, you do it here. So as you can see, this is introduction. So the last part, which is Act 3, it's more like a conclusion. Okay, it's more like wrapping up the story. Okay, it's more like a denouement, some sort of a resolution. Okay, there is nothing much going on there. Okay, so this is introduction and this is the end. Here, this is where your actual story happens. So that's why this is Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. So what is the tip that I can give you in this act? Okay, always try to label each act. Why are we going to label each act? You are trying to write your story, write your scenes if it's a movie, in such a way that this scene is trying to mean something. It's trying to mean something. This sequence, this series of scenes is trying to mean what? To mean something. Okay, meaninglessness in movies or in stories come as a result of no story or no structure. Okay, so try to label your acts. Okay, in Act 1, this is what I'm trying to do. In Act 2, this is what I'm trying to do. In Act 3, this is what I'm trying to do. Something that I forgot in Act 2 as a longest act, it has got Act 2 Part 1 and Act 2 Part 2. And in the middle of that, this is some sort of a midpoint of your story. So if you want to know more, please don't forget, just shoot a comment below. And also you can follow us on WhatsApp. Balisa Story Academy is on WhatsApp as well. Sorry, on TikTok. Okay, on WhatsApp it's a group. Okay, so as you can see, guys, now we've got Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. So this is some sort of a structure, a story structure. Okay, now let's label our acts. Okay, let's label our acts. Not our acts, but let's label certain points in time in our story. Okay, let's say Act 1, this is where you somewhat introduce your story. Okay, as you can see, at minute 15, now I'm going to label this according to this story. Okay, at minute 15, I have an inciting incident here. What is an inciting incident? An inciting incident, it's an event. Okay, it's an event that happens, okay, that is irreversible. You cannot change it. Let's say Matthew was a graphic designer for a very long time. He was not comfortable with his way of living or standard, or he was not fulfilled. He felt like there is something missing. A call came. That call, it's an inciting incident, because that call is going to change his life completely. He received a call from a developer, let's say from Joburg, and the developer from Joburg, or the company from Joburg, an app company, offered him an IT job. So that event kickstarts his life to a new journey. So we call that inciting incident. Okay, what is important about inciting incident? Number one, it disturbs the balance. Matthew was a graphic designer, but he was not happy. After that event, he changed from graphic designer to a software developer. As you can see, this change happened as a result of the inciting incident. Another point, the inciting incident, the event must be irreversible. If Matthew is going to change from being a graphic designer to a developer and go back to a graphic designer, now this is the importance of the structure. The structure is helping you as a writer to move forward. It's pushing you that move forward. Okay, how does moving forward helps you as a writer? Okay, this is the importance of a structure. Have you read a story or a script where the story is just beating around the bush? Okay, beating around the bush, it's not progressing. Okay, it's not progression. So when I'm reading the story, I need to feel the progression. So when Matthew transitioned from a designer to a developer, this is some sort of a transition. As a reader, this excites my emotion, and also it keeps my mind waiting for what will happen next, because I believe maybe this is an unfamiliar world for him, or I want to see how is he going to cope into this new world. So this change must be irreversible. It must disturb the balance. So meaning that event can only be an inciting incident if it disturbs the balance. If Matthew was a graphic designer and he received a call and he was also a graphic designer, now you are starting to kill the momentum of your story. Okay, so in terms of storytelling language, if structure is helping you to progress, okay, it's helping you to progress, what do we call that? Okay, the rate of that progression, just like calculus, the rate of that progression, we call it pacing. Okay, first of all, there must be a change, and then the rate at which things are changing, we call it the rate at which this change is happening in story, now I've lost myself. Okay, so the change in your story, it's pacing. Okay, it's because now I was going to find myself saying it's momentum. I was going to say it's calculus. Okay, I'm so soaked in physics and mathematics. Okay, enough about that. So it's momentum. Okay, it's how fast your story it's moving. So I hope an inciting incident is clear. Let's just go back. It disturbs the status quo, meaning that this is a perfect life. When inciting incident happen, they're changing. Now there's also another important thing about the inciting incident, something that I think beginners miss about inciting incident. We think that the inciting incident is physical, from graphic designer to developer, from this environment, this office to another one, from Joburg to Cape Town. Okay, that is the physical part of it. It's important because this is visual communication or storytelling. We're talking about script here. Okay, however, there is some sort of an underlying effect of an inciting incident. Okay, it can also talk to a change in mentality or in knowledge or in perception. For instance, Matthew here as a graphic designer, he's a skilled graphic designer. Okay, let's say he knew nothing about development. So what does that mean? It means that acquiring new skills. That is the impact of what? Of an inciting incident. For instance, let me show you just a simple trick where inciting incident might have an impact when it comes to the skill, not only on physical transition. Okay, let's say before the state of Matthew before, number one, he was lazy. Number two, he hates computers. Number three, he wants nothing to do with IT. When the inciting incident comes, and it's inevitable, it's irreversible, it's something that will force him to do it, as a reader or as a viewer, you'll be like, how is he going to cope? As you can see, this generates excitement. That is that progression. So very important, inciting incident. So if this inciting incident happened at minute 15, it launches you, or it pushes you to what? To minute 30. If you've got any question, please don't forget to shoot a comment below. If you like this type of a content, please subscribe. Okay, so let's continue. So as you can see, guys, now we have managed to hit the inciting incident. So we are launching our story into break into two. This 30-minute mark, we are breaking into two. It's like we are shifting from this well to another, or from this room to another. Okay, what is also worth mentioning about this, there's nothing important here. So now let's break into two. Okay, one last thing that I forgot here is to name the act. Okay, let's see what I wrote here. Okay, so here there is breaking into principal's house. So as you can see, whatever that I'm trying to do here in Act 1, okay, this guy is breaking into principal's house. I forgot the actual concept, and at this point in time, it's not that important. So let's get into Act 2. So now we have set up everything and we are ready to Act 2. We are breaking into 2. So Act 2 has Act 2 Part 1 and Act 2 Part 2. At the end of Act 2 Part 1, you are hitting your some sort of the midpoint of your movie. So you are done with setting up your story on Act 1. Done. Suppose here on Act 1, I know the story. I have something to follow and someone. Okay? Here on Act 1, there must be a character, or maybe a group of people, but there must be a character. I need to understand what is it that they want. Okay? So if you don't have these, then you have lost it, because I need to follow someone. I need to see someone that I'm going to identify, and some sort of a likable guy or whatever that I'm going to follow. So now let's get into Act 2. Okay? What happens in Act 2 according to this story? Check here. I'm introducing a subplot. Okay? On Act 2, on 30 minutes, I'm introducing a subplot. This is plot A. This is plot A, my main plot. Okay? Now here on 30-minute mark, I'm introducing subplot. Why am I doing that? Okay? Remember, we have talked of a story progression. Okay? The story needs to move. Remember, here we have not infused the meaning at the moment in time. That's why I'm showing you plotting, okay? Some sort of working at the events of your story so that you can feel like it's moving, okay? This helps you with that. So here I'm going to introduce a subplot. What is subplot? Subplot is story B, okay? Story A and story B. Story B, in this case, okay, it's a love interest, okay? Let's say Matthew started here as a graphic designer, and he get a call on minute 15 to become a software developer. He resists up until at minute 30, where he decides to do it. He takes a decision to really take the call. When he gets into this new company, he meets a lady, okay? Let's call, do we have her name? Ruth, okay? So he meets Ruth, and Ruth, remember, I'm not telling this story actually, I'm just making things up randomly. So he meets Ruth, okay? Ruth, according to here, is a love interest, okay? That is story B. However, introducing that character, it's not story B. What is story B here? Ruth Remember, I said on the inciting incident, this guy must want something. Now, on story B, what is story B in the introduction of Ruth? Ruth also wants something. So as you can see, now we've got two people to follow. The main line of Matthew and Ruth who joins in here. Okay, so how do you craft a subplot then? Because now it looks like, Matthew, you are splitting your story into two. That's not what I'm doing. Okay, now whatever that Ruth wants, okay, needs to complement the main story. For instance, let's say Matthew got in here as a lazy guy who hates computers and whatever, but he needs money. He's desperate. He wants to solve a certain problem and a pressing need. Okay, when he gets into this new company, Ruth is that kind of a lady that is passionate about teaching people. The managers, the crew, the tech lead, they don't want to teach this guy. Ruth is very patient with this guy. Why Ruth is very patient with this guy? Ruth has an app idea. Story B. Ruth has an app idea. That means it's a problem for her to solve. Remember, Matthew has his own problem. Ruth also has her own problem. But Ruth's problem and Matthew's problem needs not to go, what can I say, in different directions. That means you've got two stories, okay? Ruth's problem needs to complement, these need to, let me put it this way, Ruth's problem or Ruth's story needs to push the main plot forward. So meaning that these must blend, okay? Do not mix, what can I say, Coca-Cola and sugar and vinegar. That's not a blend, okay? So Ruth's story. Ruth is an incredible software developer, but she needs somebody with the graphic design skill, but in terms of UX, user experience, okay? Graphic design skills, but for software. So as you can see, the arrival of Matthew in the company makes Ruth's dream a reality. Ruth always wanted to retire in the company, but she felt like, I'm not a designer, okay? I don't have an eye for beauty in terms of software or anything in terms of design. So now this guy is employed. He knows nothing about coding. I am going to teach him coding for my personal gain, okay? That's very important because that is her own story. So as you can see, we've got Matthew wanting this and we've got Ruth wanting this. So that is story B. So let's talk about Ruth as a character. If you are introducing a character that will eventually fall in love with, let's say, your main character, we call that character a love interest, okay? As you can see, guys, there is nothing random here. When you watch the script, you always feel like everything is random. It's not random, it's planned. So I hope now you understand. On minute 30, I have introduced Ruth. Let's talk about character introduction. I've been reading scripts and stories whereby in Act 1, we've got more than 5 characters introduced. Ruth, the uncle of Ruth, the father's fathers, the father of. That won't work. I'm sorry, okay? So as you can see here, why I'm introducing Ruth here, okay? I'm still on the progression, okay? Imagine if I can introduce everyone here in what can I say, in Act 1. What else are you anticipating or hoping for? Okay, story is about hooking the audience and keeping the audience there until you finish. So things need to get complicated and introduce new forces. Okay, so this appearance, it appears at the perfect time when you start to feel like you are really bored. Let's say somebody else will be introduced and they have their own plan. So let's continue, guys. Okay, now the most important thing that you need to think about when you are here, okay, when you are on minute 0, you are shooting for minute 15. When you are on minute 15, you are shooting for minute 30. When you are on minute 30, you are shooting for minute 45, and then from then 60. Okay, I hope you get that. Okay, So let's see here. Okay, so now I'm introducing a new lady here. Okay, so this lady has a goal, and then let's see Matthew now from minute 30 to 45. He's in a new world. Okay, that is the impact of an inciting incident. The inciting incident launched him into a new office, new set of skills, new set of employees, new set of colleagues, and everything is new. Maybe even the income has changed. Matthew is starting to make money now. Okay, fine. Now let's shoot for what can I say? Let's shoot for minute 45. Okay. Now, as we are shooting for minute 45 in this story of Matthew and Ruth and his graphic design career, okay, we need also to prepare for minute 60. This is the midpoint. Okay, so here is the idea here, okay, of plotting. Okay, these are crucial moments in your script. Imagine if, let's say, nothing happens from minute 0 to minute 15. Nothing seems to change. Nothing seems to be exciting. There is no one who seems to join the forces, and then up until we reach minute 30. And as you continue, nothing seems to happen at minute 45, and even on half of the movie, nothing seems to happen. Okay? That will be dull and boring. So what you are trying to do, you are trying to keep the viewer engaged as much as you can. Okay, so as much as I have to shoot for minute 45, but at the same time I need to look for minute 60, because this is half of the movie. Let's say, why is it important? Imagine if my character at point 60, which is half of the movie, he still doesn't know what he wants. How am I going to quickly rush his want, and at minute 90 he already figured it out? And remember, now I'm approaching the climax. So I hope you understand the importance of the structure. Okay, you don't do things randomly. You are always thinking ahead on how can I push to a certain point. Okay, so these are important points. Okay, so let's go back to shooting for minute 45. Let's say, according to the new story now that we have created. Okay, now Matthew doesn't know what is Ruth thinking. Okay, he doesn't know it. So at minute 45 he has to know it. Okay, at minute 45 Matthew needs to know what Ruth wants. Okay, and then knowing it is not enough. This needs to complicate Matthew's life. How is it going to complicate? Look at this. Matthew and Ruth have conflicting ideas. Okay, meaning that between the two of them there is some sort of bittersweet relationship, because Ruth will tell Matthew that I have got a fast car and we can get away from here as quick as possible. Meaning that Ruth will pull Matthew away from work. Remember, Matthew is here to fulfill his own mission. So there is some sort of a conflict that will build up here at minute 45. This is where Matthew is starting to doubt Ruth's intention and kindness. So Matthew will realize, so this lady wants to build her own company with me. As you can see, guys, these are inner thoughts. Okay, that is the beauty of storytelling. Don't have characters who said, hey, my brother, how are you? I'm cool. Can you please give me money? I'm hungry. Oh, okay, my brother, I will give you the money because I'm a man of God. This is too obvious. Like, these guys, they don't have psychological makeup. Human beings are very selfish, if I can be honest. We are very selfish, okay? At any minute in time, we are pleasing ourselves and cover that up with philanthropy. I help someone because I want to feel better, not because I want to help them. I want to. So, as a storyteller, you need to understand those dynamics so that as you are telling your story could be grounded in truth. You know, when I'm reading your characters or watching them, I need to feel like there's something true about these characters. Okay, so story is not just dialogue. Okay, so let's continue, guys. Now let's progress. So as we are here at minute 45, Ruth needs to meet Matthew, and Ruth need to break down the story. So as you can see, guys, this is a crucial moment because it pulls Matthew on a different direction. So then until they meet here, so Ruth will give from minute 30 to 45. What is it that we are doing? Ruth is giving her all to Matthew so that when she says, let's take this direction, it's going to be difficult for him. So it's going to be a difficult choice for Matthew. It needs not to be obvious, okay? Matthew must not feel like, nah, Ruth, I'm not going to do it. No, it needs to really gets into him, and he needs to feel it. It's supposed to be difficult. That is storytelling. You always put your main character in two choices, okay? Don't fall in love with your main character. Make this guy suffer. He always has to choose, has to choose. Okay, so as you can see, now we are here, okay? What is the other thing that could make it difficult for Matthew to refuse Ruth's proposal as much as it's difficult? Because they will fall in love, okay? They will fall in love before minute 45, so that when Ruth gives this guy a plan, then they will be together. So let's continue, guys, for the sake of progression. Now we have hit minute 45. Matthew has to choose. He asked Ruth to give him a chance to think about it, and Ruth is disappointed to think about it after I've helped you with everything, but she doesn't voice out that disappointment. But okay, let's continue. On minute 16, what must happen here? Here, Ruth needs to break down her mission in details, okay? As you can see, guys, the reason why I'm all about Ruth here, I'm giving you an idea of a subplot, okay? Our main character at this moment in time, it's passive, and that's wrong. A passive character, it's a character that things happen to him. He doesn't take charge. The reason why I've shown you that here he has to take charge, he has to make a decision to break into two, it's because I was just showing you the inciting incident. So I think here I'm giving you more details about the subplot. That's why Ruth is taking over from here, okay? So at minute 60, from 45 to 60, Ruth has to break her plan in details. And it turns out that, while I'm still on that, it turns out that in storytelling, that is called a reveal. These are the things that you need to be aware of, okay? They need not to happen randomly. You need to be aware. You need to know what is it that you are doing as a storyteller. Stop telling stories about your life and how broken you were. Know that, take that and plot it here, because you need to keep me engaged. So it turns out that that's a reveal. It turns out that Ruth has committed a fraud, okay? Meaning that, let's say she has been collecting the company's money without being seen, and now she needs someone to pin the problem to, so that when this explodes, then she can have, I'm not sure if it's not an alibi, she can have not necessarily a backup plan, but she wants to throw Matthew under the bus. This will be revealed on the mid. Remember, guys, we are in the middle, okay? So when the viewer hits the middle, there must be shocking things, okay? Something that will really shake Matthew's, I'm not sure. At 45, he was a bit hesitant, but she recently fell in love with her. So it's like she was like, okay, fine. I love this girl and she's kind. Now, at minute 60, there must be a shocking reveal of his life, okay? I think the other writer, the other story teacher once said, here, the character's mouth must be left open, okay? He was really trying to give us an idea of story. So what do I mean by the mouth left open? The main character must go like, as you can see, like to be really shocked. It's either or however it is, but it needs to be some sort of A. That's what we are trying to do here. Okay, so as you can see now, if you can, I hope you can see from there, the subplot start from here. This is the journey of a subplot. Check here, it moves closer and closer and closer to above the line. At minute 60 it crosses the line. What does that mean? This means that Ruth's intentions are now being exposed. Okay, so let's talk about Matthew's journey a little bit before we get into we cross the midpoint of our story. Matthew, what we want Matthew to do, we want Matthew to take action. Okay, Matthew is a very lazy guy. You saw him when I was talking about him on before the inciting incident on Act 1. He's very lazy. He doesn't want to take charge. He's always apologetic. He always say I'm sorry for no reason. He's always that guy where people throw everything at him, like he's too soft. The introduction of Ruth is to change Matthew. We can't have Matthew entering the screen at minute 0 or in Act 1 as a soft, nice guy, and he comes back here as a nice guy. You have failed as a storyteller. What are we trying to do? We are cooking Matthew. We are burning him. Okay? It's like from gold, you take gold from the mine and you burn it so that it can be as perfect as possible. That's what we want. So Matthew is that guy. So Ruth's intention, okay, let's say according to me as the writer, is to convert Matthew into a ruthless and a vicious guy, like into I don't care type of a guy. Okay, remember, we have not talked about the meaning at the moment. We will talk about why. This is the plot. These are just the details of the plot. Okay, so now that at minute 60 we are here, Matthew is shocked. He realized that, remember we said the inciting incident, it's an irreversible event. Matthew realizes that at minute 60, excuse me, when he realizes that Ruth is a crook, okay, he realizes that he's already inside. He's already inside in the scheme, okay, in the whatever scheme that Ruth has been planning. He can't pull away from it. Because here at minute 60, he's saying that, look, I'm backing down. I rather resign. Ruth is telling him that you can't. You've already committed the fraud. Here from 45 to 60, I bought you a car. I gave you this, I gave you this. Where do you think these things were coming from? They were coming from you as my girlfriend. Ruth said, no, I committed fraud under your name. I was not being nice to you. I was giving you what you deserve, but you didn't know. Now Matthew is deep in corruption, so he can't reverse. He can't say, no, I'm a nice guy. Nah, you can't enter as a nice guy, Matthew, and pass the midpoint as a nice guy. No, you can't. So as you can see now, from 60, as you can see, we took an hour to develop Matthew into a villain. Okay, now Matthew needs to learn. He has to do it now. At the inciting incident, Matthew was given a chance to better his life, to get into coding. He didn't really like it, but he ended up doing anyway because he has messed up in his life. He has got nothing to show. He wants to be better. But after the midpoint, Matthew is taking a decision again to invest himself to be a good worker. This guy was not dedicated here, but because of the introduction of Ruth, now he has to make a decision to be an excellent employee. Maybe what is the reason? Not because he wants money at this point in time. He wants to clean his name. He wants to make sure that he covers up the tracks, and he wants to know how deep in danger he is, because he was not aware of everything. So now the reason why he gets in early and knocks off late, he wants to type some code in the computers to check how far did Ruth come into throwing him under the bus. So now here he doesn't have a choice. He needs to be a master coder to save his life. Not only his job now. This is a matter of life and death. Going to jail, it has got nothing to do with job. You can easily let a job go, you know. Him and Ruth, they don't agree. He can let it go. But here, as soon as he resigned, while he's got, let's say, 6 months on the job, obviously when he resigned, Ruth might say he is resigning because he has committed a fraud. Ruth might throw him under the bus. As you can see, guys, now at the midpoint, I am locking Matthew, taking chains and locking him into becoming the greatest. So let's continue. Now, let me show you some other things that maybe we need to talk about. Let's look at the direction of the narrative. Before the inciting incident, Matthew is a nice guy, graphic designer. He's not that good, or he's good but he's tired of doing it. He's old, you know. So as you can see, that's a narrative at this moment in time. It's an introduction. The inciting incident, things are changing. So now Matthew is pursuing a different career. He's hesitant about it. At minute 30, okay, finally he decides, because he can see that he's sinking in debts. Okay, so he decides. So as you can see, guys, before the inciting incident, dull. After the inciting incident, pursuing. When he gets in here, a subplot. Okay, emotionally he's happy. His state is changing. This is story. Okay, so let's continue. Now we have reached the midpoint of the story, and we are hitting 75, which is minute 75. So now from minute 60 to minute 75, I think here I was supposed to introduce a character somewhere here, but since I'm teaching, I didn't. So after the midpoint, okay, I need to introduce a character here, okay, which is what can I say, their enemy, the character that is going to make their lives difficult. Okay, fine. It happened that, so let's first see what is it that we are doing, going to 75. Okay, at age 75 we are going to introduce Jacob. Jacob was here in the company before Matthew. Jacob always Jacob's crush was Ruth, but Ruth couldn't fall in love with Jacob because Jacob is an untrustworthy guy. Okay, his moves and the way he likes nice life, and he's not to be trusted. According to Ruth, Matthew was the ideal candidate that she was looking for, because Matthew is not out there, he doesn't like to talk, so he's the right guy to use. Now there is this guy who always wanted to fall in love with Ruth. At minute 75, this guy has to find out about everything. At minute 75, John needs to know everything about them, and this information needs to leak through Matthew, because Matthew is still a nice guy, you know. I'm developing him. Okay, so he's still afraid, he's not how can I say, he's not entirely vicious, he doesn't have that strong heart at this point in time. He's getting there. So through him at Mark 75, the information, everything needs to leak. And Ruth and Matthew, they are in danger. At this point in time, at Mark 75, John is going to the CEO to tell the CEO that these guys committed this fraud for this long and they have to go to jail. What do you think they can do? What would be the best way to stop him? Like, to stop this guy's on his way in a fast car going to work. He saw everything. Are they going to sit there and watch this guy exposing them? No. The first thing that they need to do, they have to kidnap him. They have to keep him under control. Now these guys, they are not only tricksters or software developers or what. It looks like now they are approaching the status of being a murderer in a way, because once you isolate somebody and strangle him and keep him in isolation and give him food, that means now your character has changed. This is a character arc. the character must be built gradually. In most stories, Matthew come here, he's a nice guy, he's a nice guy, he's a nice guy. All of a sudden, at minute 75, he thinks of killing someone. That is not real. In case you want more about this character development and build up, go and read The Art of Dramatic Writing by Legios Egre. So here, there's a ticking clock. We call this a ticking clock, okay? Matthew and Ruth, they've got only